required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome to the Tinley Park Chamber of Commerce cable TV show. My name is Joe Ficaro. I am a member of the Chamber's Board of Directors, a past president, and delighted to be the cable show host. I'll say this from the beginning that any of our guests, you can reach their contact information by calling the Chamber office at 708 you know what, my mind just went blank, 532-5700. I must have said that 100 times. 708-532-5700, or go to the Chamber's website, tinleychamber.org, and access our Chamber directory. We are delighted to have with us as our first guest a member of the Chamber of Commerce, John Fernbach, who is the Director of Sales and Marketing for Autumn Leaves, Alzheimer's and Memory Care. John, pleasure having you with us.
Thank you for having me today, Joe.
And we've chatted a little bit, so as I don't take any more time, we're going to allow as much time as possible for you. John, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and then what led you into going into the type of work you're doing with Autumn Leaves?
Well, even in this industry, it's you have to have a passion to help people. And I think that stems all the way into my bloodlines. My father's a dentist. My aunt is a nurse. I have a doctor or an uncle who's a doctor. And so I, long time ago, got into the funeral industry to help people. And from there, I just had a passion to continue in hospice and assisted living, and then I found myself in memory care. And it's just at the end of the day when you know you can help somebody, that's really where it all comes from.
Well, yes, I can imagine. I mean, the funeral industry, as you say, and then going into, I mean, it's a very personal and intimate thing that, in either case. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's a little bit of your background. Mm-hmm. Now, I think what our viewers would like to hear is as much information as we can in the few minutes that we have about Autumn Leaves. So, if you would tell us, how long has Autumn Leaves been around, and at the present location?
Well, the company started back in about '98, and they went to Texas. It's family owned, so the family went down to Texas and decided to develop something that's specializing in memory care. So they have about 27 communities in Texas, mm-hmm. and we have 6 in Illinois here. We specialize only in Alzheimer's and memory care. It's a small environment, about 43 residents that we care for. We have staff that are there 24 hours a day. Nurses are on staff 24 hours a day. And really what it is, it's about having the training and the specialization to help those with Alzheimer's and other dementias, and really trying to create a pleasant day for them. We are helping a lot of people with different dementias, different behaviors, so you have to have people that are just specialized in caring for them.
I can imagine. Now, I would think there are those that are viewing that may have experienced that, mm-hmm. A loved one, or themselves for mm-hmm. that matter. But maybe, John, if you would, maybe give us some of the indicators that a family member or a friend may recognize in another or their self, as I said, that would be a form of dementia.
Well, there's a lot of things that can start very early of, forgetting our keys, but that's a normal thing. Sure. Forgetting where you park, but forgetting maybe what the key does and what it means, that it goes to the car. You're not really remembering how to do steps in maybe getting dressed or bathing. You just can't remember the step by step. So those are some of the early stages of a cognitive impairment. Yep.
So in other words, it's something that we normally would do without even thinking of it, that they have to give more thought to, and they're having difficulty doing that.
Yep.
All right. That's something that people may recognize. So how many? Well, you say there are trained staff, nurses.
Yep.
How many employees do you actually have at the local?
We have about
leaves?
40 staff members. We do separate shifts. We have about 3 separate shifts. We have a healthcare coordinator that's there throughout the week. We rotate the weekends, but there's also a licensed practical nurse that's there 24 hours. They're mainly managing medications. Then the rest are the caregivers that are there. There's myself. There's a gentleman who does our life engagement coordination with activities and programs throughout the day. Our executive director is there, maintenance. We have a lot of guys that are on staff throughout the day. Yep.
Well, it's multiple homes within a larger home. I can imagine.
We have, when you walk in, it's a large common area. We really wanted to make the feel just like that resident is back at home. Because if you can do that, it eases their anxiety, their agitation. They feel like they're in a comfortable atmosphere. Then what we do is we have 4 different neighborhoods. We want to also create a visual stimulation of their neighborhood. If they're higher functioning, they can remember that they live down the hallway where the sailboats are, or where the music we call Chicago, or quilts, and we also have gardens. So we want to be able to allow them to be independent still, and to remember, where their apartment is, and it just gives them a little bit of an extra effort of knowing, their way around the community. It is a small community, so it's basically a rectangle, and if those residents want to walk throughout the day, they can do that too. Yep.
It's interesting that you you call them neighborhoods, and themed, so they recognize that.
Yep.
Is there any other description of the facility, and maybe you could tell us some of the activities that they do have available for them?
We've got a wide range of activities. We really want to focus on the 6 elements of engagement. So we have a lot of things that are focused upon maybe the religious or the physical, the social activities. So we really want to engage that resident. But even in the design of the building too, we also have a lot of windows in the community. So the research that they did when they designed the building is really focused upon, once again, specializing in memory care. By having a lot of windows, you're increasing a lot of lighting, the natural lighting, which increases the melatonin. We also use full spectrum lighting throughout the community to also increase the mood behaviors. So really it still encourages them to be independent. We've got several walkways and patios and gardens that we have. And then in the rectangle in the middle, we have a courtyard where a resident during the summer months can freely come and go into the community too. Yep.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about that. I thought that was really fascinating, that even the hallways are designed a certain way so it assists them in finding their neighborhood if for some reason there's confusion?
It's a little bit of that, and then also all of the hallways in the neighborhoods are shorter. What you don't want to do is create a tunneling effect, which can increase the anxiety and agitation in the resident. As the diseases progress, sometimes the visual impairments can cause some overstimulation and create some anxiety. So we think of even the smaller hallways. And then as you're coming back to the common area, we even have mainly a window. So it gives them a visual cue to come back to where that common area is when they see the window.
That's fascinating. Now, John, we just have about a minute left, so
Okay.
if there's a parting message that you would like to say to our viewers to encourage them to contact you.
I think the biggest thing that I've seen while I've been in the industry in assisted living and memory care is really don't be afraid to go out and learn what your options are before the crisis happens. Too many times something's happened, the families are in my office, it's very stressful, and they're having to make a very quick decision in a very short amount of time. So don't be afraid to get out there and ask the questions and learn where the resources are and get all the information that you can ahead of time.
So I think what you're saying then, in addition, is people are welcome to contact you, Autumn Leaves, and get a tour of the facility, I would think.
Anytime. We always have somebody there to help.
Well, in this day and age, we know that many of us know elderly. So, as I said, you can contact Autumn Leaves through the Chamber of Commerce office and access their phone number. Our next guest is Paul Lyons, who is the co-owner with his wife Vicki, who is a hospice nurse, co-owner of Home Helpers. Paul is a certified senior advisor.
That's correct.
Paul, welcome to the Tinley Chamber Cable Show.
Joe, it's a pleasure to be here.
And this seems to be a seniors' night. Not that we are, but not just seniors, though. Home Helpers involves a lot of different ages, I would imagine. So without me taking up any more time, which I sometimes tend to do, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what was the motivation and inspiration for yourself and maybe even Vicki in going into this type of work?
Well, I had previously worked for a specialty chemical company for 35 years and was reorganized out and basically too young to retire. And my wife Vicki actually had done some research and so forth, and we found Home Helpers and really liked what we saw, primarily because it's a growing market, without a doubt. But even more so that, you know, maybe at the end of the day you felt like you've made a positive impact on somebody else's life, or that you've helped somebody out, helped an individual or maybe their family as well.
Sure.
So what we can do with Home Helpers, essentially, we provide any care from 1 hour to 24-hour live-in, assisting with the activities of daily living, including meal preparation, running errands, medication reminders, assistance with personal care. So the one thing that we really like to stress is that we are pretty much 100% flexible in terms of the schedules that we can provide.
That's a lot of flexibility, 100%.
It is,
Yeah.
and we really try to stress that because we realize that life happens, things change, and that you need to be able to be there to assist the people when they actually need it.
Life happens. That was a nice way of putting it. And actually it does. It goes on, and it's not always convenient.
Exactly.
As well. Yes.
Exactly.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about, I mean, you've given us the broad stroke. Tell us a little bit more about the different types of activities and assistance that you provide. And I should ask, you know, who are the typical clients for Home Helpers? I mentioned seniors in the beginning, but we're not just talking about seniors, are we?
No, we're not. Primarily, the core of our client base are seniors. We can assist with new moms, basically, if they need some assistance while they're at home, either before they have the baby and they need bed rest, or after the baby comes, we certainly can be there as well. Of course, one of the parents has to be there, but we would just help out in any way, shape, or form that we can. And some of the things that we do very specifically would be meal preparation. We can certainly assist with laundry, do light housekeeping. As I had mentioned earlier, running errands, bring clients to doctor appointments, take them out to lunch. Maybe they like to go to a movie. They'd like to visit some of their relatives. And I think one of the benefits is, especially for those clients whose own children live out of town, it gives them a peace of mind knowing that they are being taken care of, even though their children cannot physically be there. So.
Well, yeah, I think we know, those of us who live in a home, all right, whatever structure it may be, there's a lot of different things that you need to do.
Oh, there is.
And as you've indicated, your assistance is with all of those different things, almost all of those things, from the front door to the back door, answering the door,
yes,
putting the tea on. I mean, whatever the case may be. And you said laundry and things of that nature as well?
Sure. And one of the things that we do with a number of our clients is we come in for very short shifts, 1 or 2 or 3 hours, basically maybe to help get them up or get them ready for bed or both. So it's kind of all inclusive. So,
how many employees does Home Helpers have?
Well, we currently have approximately 40 caregivers who are direct employees of ours. Agencies such as ours are licensed by the Illinois Department of Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
And so we like to think of our caregivers as really part of our family. And our hiring criteria is fairly straightforward, is after we kind of go through an initial phone interview and maybe a face-to-face is, would we want this person taking care of one of our parents? And it gets pretty easy after that to determine, you know, if they would be a good fit with us. So
I suppose you can tell.
You generally can tell, you know, and like I say, the caregivers that we hire, one of our sayings is you can teach the skills, but you can't teach the heart.
That's true.
And that to me is really the critical part of our industry, out of our business, is basically we're looking for people that have compassion, that have heart, that really love to do what they do. And it's not always an easy job. Not always an easy job.
I can imagine.
Yep.
Patience has got to be...
You have patience. Yep. There's you know, we deal with clients that have Alzheimer's. We have patients that have chronic diseases. We've had patients with Lou Gehrig's disease. It's just, you know, you kind of run the gamut. And then we have the clients that are just true delights, you know, to be around, and they have stories to tell, and they love to tell them, and our caregivers love to listen.
Are there any unusual circumstances that come to mind with respect to the type of a client or situations?
Not really. What we try to do is, if we do get a call regarding our services, is that we go out and do a free consultation with the family so that we can find out what their needs and requirements are, and so that they can find out who Home Helpers really is. And then based on that, what we do is come back and look at the type of assistance that's required, the scheduling that's required, and we try to match up caregivers, not only in terms of the physical things that need to be done, but more importantly, the soft issues of developing a relationship with that client. We then select who we think would be a good caregiver or caregivers. We bring them out ahead of time to meet with the family, not only the clients, but the client, you know, maybe their extended family, their kids, so that everybody is on the same page, everybody's comfortable with each other. So that to us is really, really a critical thing, a critical part of our business.
It's relationship building as well.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
That to us is really the critical part.
I would think that includes, let's say, the selection of a male or a female caregiver. But I noticed in some of your material with respect to religious services and things of that nature,
Sure.
I mean, that all aspects of life.
Oh, yeah.
And I imagine it is more difficult for, let's say, family members who are, as you said, out of state.
Yes, it is. It is. And what we try to do is to keep them appraised on a regular basis of, you know, how their folks are doing. And, you know, just to make sure that there is a comfort level there that even though the children are not physically present, you know, mom or dad or, you know, aunt or uncle are well taken care of.
It's got to be, well, as I said, as you said, I should say, that they're allowed to stay at home.
Precisely.
As long as possible. What percentage do you find as male and female?
It varies. It's generally a mixture, you know, probably half and half.
Half and half?
Yeah. Some folks are couples. Some we take care of are just individuals living by themselves, and you know, they just need that little bit of extra help. You know.
Well, Paul, we have a little over 30 seconds, actually. So is there just a parting message that you'd like to
Well,
say?
what we would like to do would be just to be rest assured that, you know, we are out to help our clients as much as possible. We are actually in the process of applying for a medical license as well, which will help expand some of our services in the future.
Well, that will help. And I think the information that you've heard, you can contact Home Helpers as well as the others through the Chamber of Commerce office, again, 708-532-5700, or tinleychamber.org. Paul, I'm glad that you were here. I mean, as you say, your client base is developing, so I'm glad you were here, and I will see you from time to time at Chamber of Commerce events.
You betcha. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, our next guest is John Nieckula, representing Camp K9 Pet Resort and Spa, along with his daughter Laura. which I understand is family-owned
Correct.
and operated.
Absolutely, family-owned and operated for the last 11 years.
I was going to ask you how long?
11 years.
11 years.
Been
that's
at
a long
this
time.
location in unincorporated Cook County now since 2005. Prior to that, we were located in Mokina.
Okay.
So
Well,
now
you're
we're-
still local.
So
Still
absolutely
even
local,
more
yep.
local. Well, John, tell us, if you would, maybe a little bit about Laura's background or yourself, whatever, and what motivated she and you to go into this business.
Actually, when Laura was in the corporate world, when she graduated school, she went to work for a company in Indiana, American Electric Quartz, and did a lot of traveling. And she was always looking for a place to put her dogs. And she could never find a suitable situation, so she said, Dad, I'm going to go into the pet sitting business. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, all this money that we spent, you know, fortunately she had a scholarship for volleyball, so we didn't spend as much as we thought we were going to. But anyway, she decided to go into the pet sitting business, so she started. She left the corporate world, went into the pet sitting business, and did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then that was very successful for her. She said, I want to get a bricks and mortar location. So we looked around, and she found a place in Mokina. And when I came back to Illinois in 2003, we actually remodeled the place and put a bunch of money into it and got her started there. And she was in Mokina for 3 years, and then she decided that she wanted to get her own physical location. And she looked around and found this facility in unincorporated Cook County between Tinley Park and Country Club Hills on a dead-end street. So we're a destination, so you just don't drive down looking for a doggy daycare. You have to know we're there. So she bought that facility in 2005, and we've been there ever since. So it's going on 9 years. This should be 9 years with the same facility.
All right. So from what I understand, as you said, it's on a dead-end street. It's easy to get to, but it's just isolated enough where there's not a lot of traffic and noise and what have you.
The only traffic that comes down that street is the mail lady or the UPS or the FedEx.
So not to take up too much time and a tangent, but how do the dogs react to a mail lady?
The dogs don't even see the mail lady. The mail
they don't
lady's
see the mail carrier,
lady's
right.
500 feet away. You know,
Okay.
the dogs are in the facility or out in the yard, and so they don't even react to the mail lady. If a delivery truck pulls in, they may bark a little bit, but once they get over that, it's back to routine.
Well, John, tell us as much as you can from A to Z about Camp Canine.
Well, Camp Canine right now is a 1,600 square foot facility under roof. We have a 1,100 square foot playroom, which has a rubberized floor and FRP paneled walls, where the dogs have the ability to play when the weather's inclement. And even when the weather is not inclement, a lot of dogs will just run back and forth. The doors are open. They can go in and out, and as they please. This past year was an exciting year at Camp Canine. We took and put in about 1,100 square feet of canine grass, and we covered it with a sun tarp, 1,100 square foot of sun tarp. So what that does is when the sun is shining heavily outside, the dogs can go under it, and about 80% of the sunshine is prohibited from going through, so it keeps the dogs cooler.
What's canine grass?
Canine grass is like artificial turf, except it's made for dogs. It's antimicrobial, and it has the little penetrated holes for drainage and so forth. So that's what
That's
canine
interesting.
grass.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a nice facility for the dogs.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I had never heard of canine grass. Probably because I don't have a dog, but
Yep,
I love them. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
And one of the things about the canine grass is some dogs have allergies to natural grass. So if the client informs us that their dog has allergies to natural grass, we can put the dog on the canine grass, and it has no problem, no allergies, no need for Benadryl or anything of that nature.
That's interesting. It is. So tell us a little bit more. What would the typical dog day be like in the facility, whether or not there's inclement weather?
We open at 6 in the morning, and we have people that are waiting for us to open the door at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're either going to catch the train, or they got to be at work by 6:30 or 7 o'clock, so they drop their dog off. A typical day for the dog is brought inside. He's taken outside again to do his duty if necessary. Then we take and bring the dog back in, and it goes in his kennel for about 45 minutes. From about 6:30 till about 8:30, 9 o'clock or so, dogs are coming in, so it's pretty hectic. Once the traffic slows down, the dogs are free to roam. They can go in the playroom, they can go outside, they can go under the tarp, they can go in the big yard. If the weather is nice outside, they can roam 40,000 square foot yard and play to their heart's content.
40,000 square
40,000 square foot open yard.
Wow.
And it's segregated, so you have we have 4 different play yards in there for the smaller dogs, the medium-sized dogs, the larger dogs, and then of course the big, the mastiffs and the cane corsos and so forth.
All right, so, well, and I imagine you learned which dogs get along with others and
Dogs,
which ones
dogs,
don't.
dogs are like human beings.
Yes.
They have personalities, and some personalities click. If I put 20 dogs out at one time, I'll have 5 in that corner, 4 here, 3 there, bring them back in and send them back out again. I'll have the same 5, the same 4, the same 3 will group together, and they'll play together, and then occasionally 1 or 2 will come from another group, and they'll intertwine, and it's amazing to watch them play. You wouldn't think that dogs would understand what play is, but once they start going, it's wonderful to watch. It really is.
I can imagine. Well, I have owned dogs in the past, so I understand. You learn their personalities and what have you, and I guess you get to observe that even more so. Are there any other types of services that are provided to the dogs while they're there, if need be?
We have, of course, the daycare. We have training. We have grooming. We do the nails. We provide the meals, necessary medications that a dog is supposed to receive during the day. So it's a full-service facility. We don't do any kind of medical diagnosis. We're not permitted to do that. We are governed by the Food and Drug Administration and also by the Agricultural Department. We have inspections. They may call us and say, we're going to be there in an hour. Or they may not even call and just show up. So you never know, and we have to be on our toes basically all the time. We have an inspection coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact, from unincorporated Cook County personnel are coming out to inspect our facility to make sure that our fire codes are proper, our sprinklers are proper, our bathrooms, our water, everything is going to be checked tomorrow. So we're preparing for that right now.
All right, and I understand. You and I were talking earlier with respect to the environment and maintaining that environment for the dogs. Is there something you could say on that?
Well, what we do is we have 4 different yards and 4 different play areas that the dogs can go into. The yards are maintained religiously 4 times per day. You're out there, you're taking care of the dog duty, and in the playroom internally, it's within every hour the floor is wiped down so the dog can go in and they play. If a dog has an accident, we get in and we clean it up right away. It's nothing that's left.
It's sanitized.
It's
yes,
totally
regularly.
sanitized, totally sanitized. And everything that we use is approved by the AK and every KKA, so they know that we're actually doing things correctly.
And I have visited your facility, and it doesn't have that typical smell that you might find with a place with a lot of dogs. How is that accomplished?
Well, we have air purifiers. We have 4 or 5 air purifiers that run basically 24/7. When the dogs are in their kennels for the night sleeping, we set it on purification, so it creates a light ozone in there, and it's like after a rainstorm, if you smell the air after a rainstorm or a lightning, something goes, you'll smell that crisp, clean smell. That's what ozone does, and it just absolutely cleans the air out completely.
John, we've got about 30 seconds left in this segment. Is there something that you would like to say to the readers?
I would like to say, generally speaking, that this past year, our other company, which is our nonprofit, which is Loving Paws, became an official 501c3 recognized by the government as a nonprofit organization. What we do there is we are primarily national pet finders. We will adopt dogs out, accept dogs in, and our primary focus still was to have a place for servicemen and women who get deployed overseas. We will take care of their dog, no charge, as long as they're deployed overseas. So
That's great.
Thank you.
Because we know there are a lot of families who just can't care for their pet, especially if somebody's overseas. And you can reach Loving Paws at 708-798-4473. John, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Give my regards to
I
Laura. And again, you can reach all of our guests through the Chamber of Commerce office. Thank you very much.